Good evening and welcome to the Bay St. Louis Planning and Zoning meeting of March 13th, 2024. We ask that you all please silence all your cell phones and electronics at this time. We're going to begin with a prayer and pledge of allegiance in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Father in heaven, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Give us unity of spirit even when our opinions differ. Help us to listen politely to other points of view and to remember that we were all a part of the same community. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions toward the right path in the best interests of our city. We ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I apologize for the delay. Our first application tonight will be Bache. Application for variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by Robert and Michelle Bache. The applicants intend to construct a single-family dwelling and are requesting a variance of 12 feet, resulting in an 8-foot setback to the rear yard. The property is located at 528 State Street, parcel 149E-0-29-247.004, Part 472, First Ward, Bay St. Louis. The property is zoned R3 multifamily district. Is the applicant here tonight? Can you come up to the podium and state your name and address for me and a little bit more about why you're asking for the variance?
Robert Bache III. 528 State Street is the property that we own. We bought the house as a retirement house, and we're just looking to add on to the rear of the house, gain a bathroom and a porch. The house is 660 square feet. It's very small, and I figured, 8 feet addition wouldn't be hard. Other than that,
Were there any comments or questions from the commissioners?
I know it matches the neighborhood, so that's what I'm saying. Everything in there.
yeah, we're going to
It's
keep
pretty close to the property.
the
Yes.
roof line the same. Nothing. You won't even know.
Well, your neighbors right next to you is going to be about the same thing, correct?
The house to the 530. Yes.
Yes. I mean, you're just going to really match up to what they have right there.
Basic.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone in the audience? Was anyone signed up to speak? But if there's anyone in the audience that'd like to speak for or against the application. If there's no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Agee,
I'll second it.
a second by Mr. Breland. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes, but please be present for the next city council meeting. It'll be in this room Tuesday, March 19th at 5:30 p.m.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Next application is Behrens. Application for variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by Shelby and Corey Behrens. The applicants intend to construct a single-family dwelling and are requesting a variance of 8 feet resulting in a 17-foot setback to the front yard. A variance of 8 feet resulting in a 13-foot setback to the rear yard and a variance of 3 foot resulting in 5-foot setback to the side yard. The property is located at 515 Jennings Street, parcel 149E-0-29-144.001, 9 block, 1 Graham Heights subdivision. The property is zoned R3 multifamily district. Is the applicant here tonight?
Well, my name is Corey Behrens. Do y'all have pictures of the
Yes.
actual property and stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
We have.
We
I
did.
went ahead and printed some extra copies just in case. So, yeah, we acquired that lot. We're just trying to build, a little small single family 1,500 foot.
Yeah, the lot's a little bit on the smaller side there.
Yeah. So we're actually setting back the 8-foot setback on both sides, Denon and Carroll, and then ask for 5 foot on Fort Frank House. House on the south side.
I was looking at the house plan. I don't know how you could go much smaller than that for,
Yeah.
all the bedrooms are minimum sizes.
Yes, ma'am.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners? Anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against the application? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Agee, second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Please be present for the next city council meeting Tuesday, March 19th at 5:30 PM.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Next agenda item is City of Bay St. Louis application for amendment to the official zoning map submitted by the City of Bay St. Louis. The parcels include 149E-0-29-068.000, Part 58, 61, and 62. Park exempt Carroll, parcel 149E-0-29-067.001. 65A and B, Carroll subdivision, parcel 149E-0-29-067.000, part lot 65 Carroll, plat first ward, Bay St. Louis. The zoning change will convert these parcels from R3 multifamily to C2 neighborhood commercial district. The parcels are located at 402 and 404 Dunbar Avenue.
All right, so sometime last year we had an applicant come in looking to do a hair salon that's in R3. Y'all are I think y'all might have been in favor of, the city council was, but there's no legal way to do it. It likes changing the whole zoning. It's not pre-existing, but looking at the zoning map, for McDonald Park, half of it is zoned C2. The half that does Carroll, like it's two different lots, is R3. So we basically would like to change that to commercial.
Right.
And then across the street where Hair Work formerly was, and then the house next door, which I think some of y'all indicated was a
Dentist office.
dentist office at one time, changing that. Next door so the park would all be neighborhood commercial, owned by the City of Bay St. Louis. The park on the other side of Dunbar would be Carroll and Dunbar area. The adjacent property to that is actually highway commercial. They didn't want to change it to highway commercial, but give the two lots across the street neighborhood commercial, so that'd be the offices of the World Hair Salons.
All we're doing, but this was before it was zoned.
Truth be told, whenever the map
I think they
was probably
they
originally
messed it
adopted
up.
in
It was
2000,
commercial.
it probably should have always been.
It was when it was the ballparks and stuff.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about
Yeah.
the little place where
Yeah.
that was always commercial, and
Yeah.
somehow it got changed.
I think it got messed.
So that was the request.
Okay. So we're just putting it back to where it was originally.
Well, we're putting it to where it. Yeah.
It should. Right.
Any more comments or questions from the commissioners? Anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
There's a pretty tree on the corner. You saw that one, huh? We ain't touching that one. It's nice.
Forgot
Well,
about
two of them there.
Yeah, there's gorgeous oak trees. Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion.
Move it.
Motion by Mr. Agee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. LeBlanc. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Just don't let them change it again.
Another City of Bay St. Louis application for text amendment to the zoning ordinance, Article 4, sign regulations, Section 904.2, off-premise outdoor advertising, billboards. The proposed text amendment will strike on the text in Section 904.2, off-premise outdoor advertising, billboards, and replace it with the following. 904.2, off-premise outdoor advertising. A, billboards are not allowed in the City of Bay St. Louis. All legal billboards existing prior to the date of adoption of this ordinance will be considered grandfathered and not to be removed unless they fall into such a state of disrepair that would require repairs equal to more than 60% of the value of a complete replacement structure at the current price. In the event that the value of repairs is greater than 60% of the total structure or defined value and the original structure did not conform to the terms of this ordinance, the sign shall not be repaired and must be removed completely.
All right, this is amendment that from a city council meeting. Don't know if the whole city council or just some of them. They city clerk called my office one day and said they'd like this amendment. So basically what I did was I struck everything from off-premise advertising billboards and basically said what's there can stay there, but once it gets 60% damage, then it would not. They would have to come down. But otherwise, everything that's out there currently can stay. Nothing would be able to be added. Nothing would be able to be, according to how it was adopted, you wouldn't be able to change the static ones, I guess if they want to call now, to digital billboards. whatever's there right now is gonna stay there, but
Say that again about the digital billboards?
Like
So-
if you have an existing static billboard, you can't go in there and change it to an LED put up
Okay.
billboard,
even though
a billboard's there.
they're there, this would be,
change the company advertisement.
yeah, you can change that, but that sign that's sitting right there on that piece of property, if the pole gets deteriorated and has to come down, it's not gonna go back up, but flip side, if you need to move it one over, you're not gonna move it one over, they're not going anywhere, so basically, city council from a city council meeting, it was asked to draft something, the way we amend zoning ordinance is it comes to y'all for a recommendation body, it goes before them, they'll discuss it at next Tuesday's meeting, so this is the wishes, but basically, in a nutshell, anything that's existing now, it's staying, but once it gets deteriorated, but nothing's gonna get added, so
Who makes,
You're gonna wait them out, huh?
I'm not waiting, I'm just,
that's my follow-up question. Who makes the final decision about?
well, it'd have to,
the-
this motion would have to be adopted by the city council in order
No,
for,
like of the 3 years from now, that a billboard's in a state of disrepair.
well, that's the deal,
Who
like,
officially drives by and makes that decision and enforces that?
well, I guess a lot of times, I mean, I don't know if a billboard ever toppled over during Katrina. I guess
That's
it
what I'm
probably
wondering,
would,
like, so
but those things, I've looked at the plans, and if a billboard falls over during a hurricane, we have bigger issues, you know?
So are we gonna have a
Think that
department
makes
that's gonna
sense.
be the billboard?
Well, like, no, I guess that would
I'm
be me,
just
but,
asking.
no, but I
How
guess
many
it'd be,
billboards are there?
That's my thing, because
What-
everyone's just a
is there-
tab on each other.
10?
I think there might be 9, that we talked about it.
Oh, really?
Do y'all know how many?
There- there-
That's
Yeah.
what got it all started.
Yeah, so it's,
Is this a?
and there used to be, flip back history of it, which I don't know, but apparently there used to be a standalone billboard ordinance. Once they adopted the zoning ordinance originally in 2009, that one went obsolete, no longer null and void, and it didn't, but whenever originally adopted, they used to have a quota on it, but that was also whenever 603 wasn't part of, Bay St. Louis. But 603, I guess you have.
You got a bunch of them. You got them at Bayou LaCroix Bridge, you got them all the way.
And then, well, and also 603, if you go look on the other side, all the ones on the other side, though Bay St. Louis owns some of the right of way,
Yeah.
they're actually those are on Bay St. Louis, or Waveland property, or
Okay.
probably Waveland, not even count, so.
Mhm. Is there a formal definition for billboard in the,
Yeah, there
Zoning.
actually is.
because, ask your question about the, like,
Well, we talked about the Hollywood Casino sign.
yeah.
No,
Like-
like that Hollywood Casino side, and I had to go find the history originally, was apparently there used to be a building there, that is a sign, that is not a billboard. A billboard
Yeah,
is
so where do we
actually,
distinguish between the sign and
a
a billboard?
billboard has to get a permit from MDOT, like MDOT approved,
Okay,
has regulations too. But it's also off-premise advertisement, like, and it's not the same thing as a digital sign like they have at Rossetti Liquor and Lightning Quick and
Okay. So that's not gonna affect
And,
any of
um,
the, okay,
yeah, I guess it has to
by
be
the hospital.
like on a pole.
like
but-
on Washington Street, the church and all that, so.
So this was just in front of y'all, gonna go yay or nay, but I guess if it's voted down, it goes before them, but if y'all have any insight that y'all are the recommendation body of, they would probably appreciate y'all's opinion. That's all.
Does maintenance cause any problem? Maintenance? They can keep maintenance it forever?
No, I mean, I don't, there's some signs that I think probably have to be taken down, but I'm not aware of any billboard, like, business signs.
No.
Scott Gregory?
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Scott Gregory. I'm the local general manager for Lamar Advertising. And Dan Adams is our local real estate manager too for our office. We're the largest billboard company across the Mississippi coast. We are not the company that built the black structure that I understand led to some contention, so I will point that out. But anytime we notice these things come up on an agenda with the city, we obviously have a vested interest because we've got boards.
Sure.
There's a common misconception that people think the billboard company wants to build a more. In at least with Lamar, from our perspective, nothing is further from the truth. You would think would come and speak out against something that would prohibit it, and that's not the case. Really, we just wanted to come so that we can introduce ourselves, be a resource, and we always want to be a part of this conversation because there are a lot of things to consider when you do something like this, and I'll speak to those things a little bit, and definitely want to answer any questions too. As a billboard company, we want to serve the businesses and organizations in our local communities where we operate, and we want to make sure our inventory looks good. Because if it doesn't look good, nobody's going to buy from us. And especially here and in most of the markets where we operate, it's important for us to be a good partner to the cities and communities we serve. So we work with countless nonprofits, cities themselves. A number of our cities across the Mississippi coast are actually lessors and advertisers of ours, where they make money from us paying them to be on their site, and they use our product to get the message out to their citizens. So again, that's kind of how we work. And our model at Lamar is built on only matching the market's demand so that we can accommodate those needs of advertisers in the city. So for instance, we may get a landowner that calls us and says, hey, I got a piece of property that'll qualify. Do y'all want to get a lease and build it here? And we'll look at it and we'll say, no, there's no interest. No, advertisers don't want it there. It doesn't do us any good. So no. So it's important for us to make sure that supply only matches demand. And less is more is our approach. It makes things look better that way. With cities too, as other media like TV and radio has become more and more fragmented. I mean, radio, you got Sirius XM, countless stations, podcasts, so forth and so on. TV, tons of stations, streaming, all that. Billboards have sort of, over the past couple of decades, had a resurgence because it is truly one of the last ways to reach a mass audience, whether that be just citizens in a community or across the board for a national advertiser, very cheap. Because everything else you can kind of turn off or throw away. So there is a lot of value there that I think people sometimes can overlook until you really kind of think about it. And again, it's important for us to convey that our mission is always to serve the communities where we have boards and those local businesses. So with that being said, we're not inherently here to speak against this. We just want to have a conversation. And I will point out something to maybe for this body to consider, because when something comes up and you say, all right, we want to control this, and that's usually the mission for a city we've encountered with all those we've worked with throughout the country, is you want to limit supply and you want to make sure that there's an aesthetic value that's protected. So a lot of times the instant reaction can be, okay, we got to stop it. You keep what you got here, but no more. And that's okay, but there are other options to that. And there are drawbacks to that down the road communities can realize sometimes. So one of the drawbacks is when you basically have a moratorium in place where you keep what you've got, but you can't build anything else. What the billboard companies are going to do, you're somewhat limited in what you can do to maintain it. You can't ever convert it. You can't ever upgrade it. You can't ever make major improvements to it. You can paint it. You can keep it there in place. But over time, it's steel, and cities change over time. So you may have a big, attractive base of businesses in one area, that over time, the businesses shift to another area as things get developed. Well, those billboards can't, and the need for outdoor advertising can't follow that. And the billboard companies can't upgrade or make any major improvements to those. What you can sometimes have over time is they're gonna start aging. And so you might have aging boards that don't look as attractive, that don't serve the needs of that community anymore as things grow and maybe move in a different direction. That's the drawback. Now, one option I'll put in front of you that a lot of our cities actually along the coast operate in, and that's been successful to solve the problem but still serve the community, is, I encourage you to keep an open mind to a sort of system like a cap and replace, where it can still accomplish that mission of limiting the inventory where you don't have any more going up. But you allow for some of those future needs, like making sure things continue to look good and giving the local business space a way to reach potential customers and new customers. And so with the cap and replace, the billboard company or billboard companies can sacrifice a predetermined amount of structures to get a new one. So it might be a ratio like, for another static, which static is basically like your traditional board that's got a vinyl on it. It might be something, just throwing this out there, like you take 2 of those down to get a new one. So what you can accomplish is you've reduced that amount of inventory by 2 for one new one that, if it's new, is going to look a lot better. Maybe you have regulations like it has to have a facade that meets the look of the area, or it has to be bricked up, or it has to be nice looking. So with that, you're still actually reducing instead of just keeping the same number, but you're keeping up with the needs and the desired look and appeal of it. And then a lot of times when you have a ratio like that of static, you might have one for like digital, where it might be a larger number. So, because a lot of times with like a digital product, as that becomes more and more valuable, you can serve more businesses with one location, and you can also serve the city and the community, county, emergency management organizations, because there's no production involved. So if a storm's coming, we can put a evacuation route message on there in 5 minutes. We can run city recruitment messages, recognize people in the city, announce events. So if the city's having a community event, we can throw that up there in 5 minutes, and there's no cost involved whatsoever. So there's a lot of benefits to digital. And in a cap and replace system, you might have like a 4-to-1 ratio or a 6-to-1 ratio. And we've had communities where we basically, for all intents and purposes, we've taken down basically almost all of the structures in a city to have one well-positioned one, and can do a facade or something like that that looks really nice, have one location, and still accommodate all the advertising needs of the businesses and partner with the city at the same time. And those can accomplish that, where you don't have that risk of down the road we look, in 10, 15, 20 years and say, these old steel I-beam structures look terrible. But the billboard companies are going to protect their interests, and the landowners are going to protect their interests, and they're going to sit like that because that's your only option. So again, not to say that has to be it, and we're not necessarily opposed to the sort of ban that's on the table. We just always get concerned because we see those things that can happen when there are usually a lot better options that you can consider if you put some time into weighing those instead of just a ban. Again, the digital, cities have come on board because they see so many benefits with that. And we've got more and more cities doing a system like that where we can actually relocate, be on a city's property, kind of make it a joint partnership where you have a city message as part of it, and take down other structures, and then you're still doing the same thing where you're left with less, but a lot more attractive than what you got now. So that's my purpose today, but I'm happy. I mean, just as somebody in the industry, if I can answer any questions or what we've encountered in other cities that have worked, I'm happy to do that.
I have a ton of questions. I'm so glad
Go
you
ahead.
came tonight, and I hope you come to city council too,
For
because
sure.
there's so many
Yeah, we'll
questions
plan
like
on it.
this that
Yeah.
probably only you could answer.
Yeah, for sure.
The first general question is, how many signs do you, like, if there's only 9 or 10, how many do you own? Do you know?
Yeah,
how many
we've
you
got
own?
the majority, and actually that is, I'm thinking with tunnel vision just to what we own, which we own the majority, but there are a number of others. So like we've got the 12 total structures
in the
that we
city of
have.
Bay St. Louis.
Correct. And I was overlooking 603 as part. 603 is a good example because, for instance, talking about how things can benefit the city, we had a situation recently where we've got a structure, small poster structure, what we call the smaller ones, and the lessor changed. Somebody bought the property, and the new owner asked us for a lot of money to keep it there, and we said, no, we're not. That's more than we make on it. We're not going to pay you that amount of money. The city owns the parcel just south. Literally, you could just about put 1 foot over the line to the city's property. And we reached out to the city and we said, look, we've got an opportunity. This one's here. We can relocate it here, and you get X amount of money, and the overall aesthetics of the area doesn't change one bit. I get that this is kind of a hot button right now, so I think the feedback was sort of like, yeah, we can't go there right now. The billboards, it's a hot topic, not going to happen. And I get it, because I think people are just, they don't understand a lot of the benefits that come with it, and that there is a way to make things mutually beneficial, whereas there maybe wasn't as much in the past. But so yeah, we've got some inventory on 603, so do some other companies, and then we have some inventory on 90. In same situation, some other companies like Global has had like the square structures for a long time. They're great, but that's a good example too of like, I'd probably tell him this in person. I'm glad he's not here. He's a great guy, and it's a great company. But it's old inventory.
He's not upgraded.
It doesn't look good. And
so I've been thinking a lot about this since I heard and asking people a lot of questions from different places, but what's the, like, how much what's the minimum qualification for them to even approach you? So am I really cutting out a lot of potential landowners from potentially making this money? What's the minimum qualification? How many people, obviously a lot of people in Basin Lewis do not have that minimum qualification, or there'd be more than, you know,
a lot of sites don't qualify. So the interesting thing too, and part of the reason why this didn't really get us overly concerned, is there's not really, even as it's written right now, virtually really nowhere you can go anywhere.
That's my point, because I was like, I like the concept if you're like a city of Gulfport and you have hundreds of signs going down, like, okay, you can replace one and you could take away 2 or 3 or whatever. But I feel like it doesn't translate as well to Bay St. Louis when we only have, and then we're structured a little differently. You know, like our highway is not a traditional highway.
Exactly.
So it's, you know, it's more like part of our town. We're trying, that's one of our main goals for our planning in 2045 is to get that aesthetic looking a lot better.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that's why you'll see too, because of that, you know, a lot of our advertisers in Bay St. Louis are local Bay St. Louis businesses.
That's what I feel like, and that's why I didn't want to cut something out from potentially from somebody who was really interested in that. Cities like Ocean Springs, it seems like, I was trying to really think, I'm like, of course, on the interstate, there's a ton.
Sure.
Are there special regulations, and I can't compare us to Gulfport, but I feel like I could compare us to Ocean Springs.
Yeah.
Are there regulations there about billboard placement?
Ocean Springs, it is, you're the expert on this. It is, for all intents and purposes, it is blocked out. Now, they do have, there are qualified sites, but basically the spacing is so far that you have a mile.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, we're only talking a few miles. We're the same thing with us. But
basically blocks it out without saying we're banning you. But, you know, the good thing there, too, in theory, you could upgrade it. It does get a little more dangerous when you say, like, once, you know, it's past that 60% damage you can't do anything with. Some of that language is dangerous in the sense that it's stuff that may not look good, that needs to be shifted around or rebuilt or moved or upgraded. It's not going to go anywhere.
And that's why I'm asking, like, who determines that 60%? You know, like, it's,
That's right.
Okay. Versus like a repair in kind.
Well, during the storms, y'all did take your signs down. That's why.
I mean, Zeta did take out a couple. We don't need a Katrina. Zeta took out a couple of them.
We had some fall in some areas, fortunately, where we could put it back and it qualified. You know, Katrina took some down we couldn't get back. Some that we could. You'll probably see we prep for storms. I mean, it's just part of our business. And so we have a lot of precautionary strategy to make sure it doesn't fall, because the cities don't want them to fall. Landowners don't want them to fall. So we remove vinyls to increase wind flow. Every one of our structures, for the most part now, we upgraded after Katrina where we have panel-free frames where it's basically, it's not metal sections. It's just open space. So the good thing is we can drop those vinyls where you're fine, or worst case, if we don't get to it, it comes up quick, it blows the vinyl out, but the structure doesn't get that wind resistance push where it's fine. So we've come a long way since that, for sure. Yeah.
I really appreciate this. I mean, I feel it makes me feel better. I had a lot of general questions about this.
definitely, and I would. I mean, even all bias aside, you know, with the recommendation this body can make, and us being here, and we'll definitely attend the city council too. But I would encourage you to take it slowly, because I think a lot of times there are better options that could be of benefit to the city, and still accomplish the same thing, maybe even more so, where you can actually not just keep it the same quantity, but find ways to encourage it to actually be reduced and get better.
So
So
like your 2-for-1 plan, that was pretty
No, I
neat.
do like
mean,
that, but I
was
don't.
nice. And
It's-
now one thing I don't agree, I think that it should be allowed to, if they could fix it back, this is just me saying. If it's, to go back to like 100%, if you were, that's what I'd like to see it fixed, instead of if somebody comes up and say it's 60%, take it down, but
I just feel like it's tricky too. So you get one new one. Who do you decide which
Yeah.
landowner to cut? How do you make that decision?
yeah, it just depends what you come across, and a lot of times it's just market trends. You'll see new areas developed, and people will start asking for something in that area, and you know, we'll start to say, okay. And a lot of times it happens for us, because as things get developed, we'll get those phone calls like, we've got this. But in a lot of cases now, it's cities. We've got you know, several that are the actual landowner. City of Biloxi is a good one, and they've got an ordinance that is very restrictive. But we've found sites that qualify that are on city property where they get a nice revenue from it, where it doesn't otherwise detract or take anything away, and it's where we would want it, and where local advertisers would want it, and they get to use it too, because that is the benefit for digital. I know some people hear digital and they we've gotten the feedback someday. It's very few and far between now, just because we've come so far, and people realize the benefits, and that's just the way it's going. But we'll have people say like, well, we don't want it to become like Las Vegas. It's like, we wouldn't make money on that. That's, you know, what we've ultimately got to do too. So we're not going to build digital after digital after digital, because we wouldn't be able to sell that to anybody. But it is good in the sense that it allows us to limit inventory. And Lamar did. Most billboard companies, again, 2+ decades ago, you wanted to keep everything you had, because that site was so important. And now we're just different. So like, for instance, if we have a landowner come to us and say, hey, we want this amount of money, we look at it and we say, well, we don't get that much demand, and we only make this, and businesses don't really need this here, so sorry, sorry it didn't work out. We're a lot less protective of each one, because less but better stuff benefits us. It really does now, and it also just, I think communities like that.
Yeah.
So, again, just some thoughts, and we'd appreciate it if we can be a part of that conversation going forward, and y'all can make some recommendations, at least to say, okay, maybe there are some other options we can look at before we just jump to this and it gets off everybody's radar. We definitely appreciate it too. So,
Thank you so much.
all right. Thank y'all. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I know, I just don't know.
I don't believe that since this is what was advertised, unlike, sometimes planning and zoning, if there's something.
Like, they could still discuss it at city council.
No, it would still go through. Now, I don't think we could probably amend what was advertised, being.
Right.
Change it and say, 100%, or, hey, I wanna go change it so you can only upgrade it if it's digital, but you have to take, that would probably be a new one, but so, whatever y'all, if y'all wanna vote to approve it, go ahead. If you wanna go say, no, we would not, but also add your suggestion to it, we're gonna make sure it's can you make sure it's reflected in the meeting minutes to say, everything's fine the way it is, don't change, or everything's fine the way it is, don't change it. Everything, we'd like to see more digital billboards, but take 2 away to add 1 or something like that. We could add those to the minutes.
I just don't, at my initial, brain just thinking, I just don't see a way to make it, reducing the number of signs just isn't gonna translate, because we don't have that many to begin
Well, and
with.
then some
And
of
I
the-
know that,
Some of the issues that they have with the digital billboards, because we have some
I know they're gonna be so against the digital
No, but
billboards, but.
some of the issues that they have with zoning is we have some that, because I think we looked at a site whenever something they had on backs up to Longfellow or Washington. I don't remember what it was, but
It was the church. We were looking at the one on the church. Remember, it was
Oh.
the powerhouse Remember?
Boy, no, this was something I think I was talking to Lamar about probably last year maybe, or 2 years ago. A conversion, but the issue was the issue was gonna be at nighttime. We don't, what those are would probably have to be dimmed off or something,
Yeah.
or no flashing.
Yeah.
Because the back part of it's zoned commercial and there's houses, so like that site wouldn't be eligible for it, but there's stuff on Highway 90, Highway
that was
90,
the one
Highway
that-
603, probably the Bayou LaCroix one that's currently up would be eligible, so, if it's keeping the way it is, vote no and say, hey, we like the way it is, but it's y'all's ultimate decision, or if y'all have any suggestions, we wanna add it to the minute meeting to go with it.
I would like to make the suggestion, like he said, the 2 for 1, if they were, if one sign was bad, they could take 2 down, put 1, or replace 1. I mean, that was, but I don't, and I still don't like the 60%. I mean, I know most, you said MDOT has that or whatever, but I think it's already there.
Oh,
They
well,
can-
that was just a number we made up, cause
I
like
know.
for house-wise, and that was one thing that it was hard, because whenever there's a house that's 50% damaged and has to be raised to be,
Right.
like they have a appraiser that goes in, or a tax that says, this is what the value of the house is, and there's also a contractor saying, this is what's gonna be repaired. Easy determination. I don't know how it determined it for a billboard. But-
I think we should table this and leave it to the city planners, the urban planners to try to fix this for the, what is it, 2045 project?
So if y'all want to
That
go and
should be a
say,
discussion.
so if
Yeah.
that's something y'all wanna do, is vote no, but in the notes say, I think this is something that probably be discussed with the comprehensive plan. That might be something that to go.
I think,
Well, that's
yeah.
a really good idea. Like
That
the
sounds good.
professionals.
Let me just tell you, the
Yeah.
comprehensive plan
Yeah.
is actually gonna come before y'all, before it goes to the city council, being that I know some of y'all could put input in there now, but what their suggestions were, part of it's a public hearing, but I believe it's in front of y'all, so at the end of a comprehensive plan, it goes and says, these are what we want to accomplish, crosswalks here, parking garage here, ban billboards. But if there's something that says, hey, we want to see about reducing the number of billboards, but upgrading them, that's something that could
Because I'm not
obviously-
opposed to the digital billboards. I was like, oh, that's a great idea about the evacuations and stuff, but then we're opening a can of worms. Like, there's some places I want those to go and some places I wouldn't
Well,
want
that
those
was
to
the
go.
other-
So
And then just
I'd rather the planning commission determine, how we make that ruling.
And then just something with, yes, Bay St. Louis has some parts of both sides of the highway, but Highway 603, you might go ban it on the right-hand side, but get the left-hand side
Like Waveland can
is
do it.
Waveland,
Yeah.
and then Highway 90 closer to, you have
Uh-huh.
some that Kelly Cannon's office is Waveland. Across the street, if you walk across the highway, is Bay St. Louis.
All the
Yeah.
way down to the.
But I
yeah.
couldn't see putting digital billboard in front of City Hall. I mean, I just can't.
No.
And nor do I think we probably want one.
No, I don't think you
At
do.
the boat launch, I could see why that's a very viable option,
Yeah, yeah,
so.
I like your recommendation better.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I move we table it.
Oh, no,
Well, no, we'll vote
Well-
no,
We'll vote no,
Or
but
Vote no.
vote whatever, and
but probably ask the city council to bring it back up after
can we still have a moratorium for the time being on the
That's a-
billboards?
is there a moratorium right now?
Is there a moratorium?
Oh, there is a
What?
moratorium.
There's a
All right. As long as there's a moratorium
Yeah,
before,
so
because
if we
we're
did
wrapping
nothing,
up the
moratorium
BSL
stays.
2045. So it wouldn't be that long to wait. I would
Yeah.
think.
I'm not suggesting we kick the can, it's more of let the professionals.
That's why I
come up with
feel
a
like, and
recommendation
Mr.
not-
Gregory brought up so many good
Yeah.
points about there's
Yeah.
probably different ways it could be written
This
or,
is their business, they know.
yeah, I know, yeah, that's why I'm glad he came.
I just need to know how many Alexander Shannara.
Shunera, Shunera. A lot.
Yeah. But it must work.
And this is what I always say, if it makes some people angry,
Not angry,
but
just,
the
you know.
point is, a lot of people recognize him before a lot of other famous people, so
Mhm.
Uh-huh,
there is a reason, it does work.
yeah,
So,
we have Morris Barton one.
Yeah. Okay, well, entertain a motion.
I'll move that we deny it.
A motion to deny by Mr. Ag, is there a second?
Second.
Second, well, we didn't, well, can we just put in our notes about, the BSL 2045?
Yeah, would like.
They're gonna know, that's
Well,
fine.
you can just say the reason they denied it was they wanted it to go to the comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
They want the comprehensive plan, y'all want a comprehensive plan before a decision's made.
Right,
Yeah.
it's just open.
So motion by Mr. Ag to deny, second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright,
Application fails. It'll be at the next city council meeting now. Last agenda item is a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion.
Motion, to approve. Is there a second?
Support.
Second by Mr. Ag. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
alright.
Last agenda item is a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by,
That's why I came here tonight.
Yeah.
motion by Ms. LeBlanc,
adjourn
second
the
by
meeting.
Mr.
Thank you
Romano.
very much.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.